Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do some gestural drawing using different materials. I've got a woodless pencil, I have a fine tip pen, and I have a brush pen marker. We're going to do a series of poses, 30 seconds for the first couple, so you can see what happens when you have to work quickly, 5 minutes for the longer one, and 10 minutes for the longest one. So that you can get an idea of what you can achieve in that time period and what you should be aiming to try to complete, and what happens if you don't. All right, so we're going to start with the first 30-second pose. So let me start my timer. Okay, that was the first 30-second pose, and in that first 30 seconds, I managed to get the general shape that my model is standing in and started to put some weight structure lines to show where there was emphasis in the image. So now my model is going to take another pose, and we're going to do another 30 seconds. Because my model is crossing his arms, I'm focusing on creating that effect of one arm over the other to really get the structure of where the lines are on his body so that I can see the general effect. Now you can see that the timer interrupts me and I don't actually get to finish, and that's okay. It's all right to leave your work incomplete. Okay, so we're going to do another 30-second pose. This time, I can ask my model to take a seat on the floor and change his position. Okay, so here we go, last 30-second pose. Okay, so that gets me to my last 30-second pose. And once again, I didn't finish any of these, but they give me a suggestion of what my model is doing. Okay, so now we're going to start the 5-minute long pose. So I'm going to have a little bit more time with this. I'm trying to start lightly in my drawing. Now that I've got the basic structure in, I'm going to use my pencil to just delineate a couple more areas, make them a little bit more clear. I'm starting to pay attention to how his shirt pulls along and gives me some gestural lines in the image. These types of drawings, you're not really worried about doing the facial features. If you get to them, that's fine. But this is all about trying to get the shape of the body and how it falls. I'm not using an eraser at all when I do this, so if any mistakes I make, I just have to learn how to use them or go over them in a darker tone. These aren't supposed to be a final image. This is only supposed to be something that gives us an idea of what the body does so we can learn how to incorporate that into our own work. Okay, so I've got the general shape of it, and I've got 2 minutes left on my timer. So I'm pulling out a pen now. With this fine tip pen, I want to emphasize certain areas You can see that I'm not focusing on any values yet, not giving any details except the pull of the fabric on his clothes. And that's my timer done. That's what I was able to achieve in 5 minutes. So in every pose, you can achieve different level of detail. Okay, so for your next one, I'm going to do another 5-minute pose. Okay, but this time I'm going to start a little bit differently. I'm going to start with my brush pen and make some loose strokes with that before refining it with my fine tip pen. Now I've done a few basic lines, so I'm going to go with my fine tip pen and I start to make things a little bit more precise. Now sometimes you find that there's something really nice in your gestural drawings and you might come back to it and add more detail. So for example, if I'm happy with how this one turns out, I might come back to it with a white fine tip pen and just add a bit more detail in to cut through the purple because it's a little bit darker than I was expecting. That's what I get for not testing my color on my page before starting to draw. It doesn't matter if your drawings intersect. These are just sketches. These are just practice in your sketchbook. So don't stress about things not looking clean and pristine. That's not the intention with this sort of drawing. Sketching is just to work out ideas and practice techniques. So I can see that I've actually made a complete mess of his legs right there. Made that one far too short for the size of his body. So that's all right. That happens. I still have 2.5 minutes on the clock. I'm going to give up on this one and I'm going to restart. I've started adding a little bit of the features. This one being a bit smaller. I'm not stressing too much about what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get a general feeling of what he looks like as he's leaning against a wall, which is what he's doing in this pose. Sitting on the floor, leaning against a wall. Starting to add the details of his hands and how one hand is covering the other. And I might even find that I have time just to give a bit of a structure to the wall that he's leaning against. And that might allow me to start adding in some values and some shadows. Okay, so that gives you a quick idea of how I've done the series of images, both the 30 seconds and the 5-minute long versions. You guys will also have to do some 15-minute version ones, but I'm not going to show you how to do those ones because I think it's a fairly easy extrapolation from this point. Let's see the battery.